Sure.
New Jersey Governor Christie signs a new $32.5 billion state budget today, vetoing a bunch of tax hikes that the Dems wanted and essentially, though, abandoning his plan to overhaul New Jersey's pension system. All of this to cover a revenue shortfall. So it's really not looking too good for 2016. All rise, Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. Chris Christie saying, listen, my predecessors left me in this real tough hole. I just couldn't get out of it.
You know, he's in a very, very tight spot. He promised to reform the New Jersey pension system. He's unable to do so without raising taxes. He doesn't want to raise taxes because the economy is anemic in New Jersey anyway. And if you raise taxes on the productive people, the economy will go down even further. But there is a statute which requires him to make this payment. And when the governor fails to make a payment, not his money, it's the state's money, that the state is required to make, what kind of a signal does that send to the rest of us who are required to make payments to the state that we don't like
you're absolutely right, Judge. And you're so astute and smart about these things because you get into the real, what matters with state finance and pensions that are going to hit us all, taxpayers. Contractually, they have to make the payment, right? So I think what's happening is New Jersey has the second lowest bond rating, credit rating in the country.
It's going to have a lower one.
Just atop California.
Right.
And so what's happened, there's this trend where government pensions in states are being shifted to 401k plans. Instead, he just chopped it instead of shifting it to 401k style contracts, which they are allowed to do.
As you point out, as a result of his not making this pension payment, and we're not talking about a chump change, we're talking about $1.5 billion. New Jersey's bond rating will go lower. It will cost the state and municipalities more money, more interest every time they want to have to borrow money. So this spiral is going to make things worse, not better. On the other hand, in terms of his political aspirations, I mean, he has to pull a rabbit out of a hat. He has had nothing but bad news, some of it of his making, some of it not of his making in the past 6 months.
Although, as Jersey, you and I live in Jersey, I mean, another tax hike is the last thing we want to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, he has remained steadfast to that, and he'll prevail on that because the governor of New Jersey has a line item veto, so he can change the face of any legislation the legislature sends him, and they don't have the votes to override.
I've got one more for you, Judge. President Obama speaking of line items here, using his pen and his phone to get things done yet again. Listen to what he said.
The failure of House Republicans to pass a darn bill is bad for our security, it's bad for our economy, and it's bad for our future. Today, I'm beginning a new effort to fix as much of our immigration system as I can on my own, without Congress. If Congress will not do their job, at least we can do ours.
You know, there's a cartoon in this morning's New York Post which shows Professor Obama at the University of Chicago Law School saying, now, students, I'm going to talk to you about the three branches of the federal government. Me, myself, and I. I didn't make this up. It was a great cartoon. I saw it this morning. Because here he goes again, thinking he can write the laws on his own. Look, he has what the law calls prosecutorial discretion. He can decide, spend more money prosecuting drug dealers, spend more money prosecuting bank robbers. He can make those decisions. But for him to exercise prosecutorial discretion in a way that has the opposite effect from what the law wants, when he tells people who are here illegally, hey, I'm going to tell you how to stay here, and I won't prosecute you for being here illegally, he's not upholding his oath to enforce the laws.
These executive
Republicans should do something about it.
Well, listen, last week you heard about lawsuits from the Republicans. Obviously, he's had a string of defeats by the Supreme Court. It feels like there's some pushback against the imperialistic presidency that we have here, but also these executive orders, from what I understand and what I know about history, it feels like a desperate attempt. Sometimes it's a sign that the president's become a lame duck president.
I think he recognizes that he's a lame duck president if and it appears he will, but if he loses the Senate in November, he will really be isolated, and we'll probably see even more of these things that he threatened yesterday.
So he doubles down. You think he'll double down?
But there's a constitutional remedy for it. It's a painful constitutional remedy, but it's right there. It's called impeachment. If he's not doing his job, if his failure to enforce the law is having the opposite effect of what he's supposed to do, if the signal he sends to immigrants basically says, send your children over the border, we'll take care of them, there has to be a stop.
Well, I tell you what, I got to tell you, there's no sign that he's going to pull a Bill Clinton and move to the middle if it's a disaster in November.
I think you're right, Charles.
He would have done it already, right?
Yes, you're right. He would have done it already, and he'd be happy and popular today instead of miserable and shunned as he appears to be.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot, Judge. Brilliant stuff as usual. Hey, GoPro, speaking of brilliant, on fire since the IPO last week. So is now the time to buy? Should you actually be chasing this thing, or should investors brace for a crash? We've got the real halftime report coming right up.
He's my boy. He's my boy.